The blue blur, Sonic speed, Sonic boom, gotta go fast, you're too slow, that's no good. All these phrases are synonymous with the blue bad boy that rocked our socks for the first time on the original Sega Genesis all those years ago. An empire of games have been built upon Sonic's back, but it all started back in 1991 on a little 16-bit cartridge. But today, I have to admit that I have never played it.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of The Completionist. And yes, it's true, I never laid my hands on the original Sonic the Hedgehog. I guess it's just something that I never got around to probably when I was a kid because of the fact that when I finally got my own Genesis, Sonic 2 was already out, and I was obsessed eventually with Sonic 3 and Knuckles. So that said, today, I'm gonna complete for the first time ever, Sonic the Hedgehog. Let's do this.
Yes! Tom Kalinske, the CEO of Sega of America, had a vision. He wanted Sega to have a mascot to rival Mario, a mascot that would be the face of the company, a mascot that would be as recognizable as Mickey Mouse, but with enough attitude to make your parents shout, "Turn off those damn video games!" Enter Sonic the Hedgehog, whose design was purposefully based on Mickey Mouse, but with a heavy dose of 90s extreme. With a red pair of Michael Jackson shoes and a cute but tough look, Sonic's entire persona revolved around the concept of speed. Yuji Naka, the original director of Sonic Team, led his group in the development of that first game. Sega USA was so blown away when they played an early version of the game that Kalinske went to Sega of Japan to pitch a crazy idea. Kalinske wanted Sonic the Hedgehog to be bundled with the Sega Genesis. There weren't that many Sega Genesis consoles sold in the States at the time, and Kalinske's thinking was that if they make Sonic look so freaking cool that everyone had to have a copy of the game, then people would be willing to buy a Genesis just to do so. This move resulted in Sonic the Hedgehog selling over 15 million units. You may have noticed that almost every box of Sonic the Hedgehog features a not for resale message on the box. That's because at the time, Sega forbid retailers to resell the games outside of the bundle. And for those who owned a Genesis already, Sega offered a free mail-in rebate to get the game. Wow, nice move, Uncle Sega. Admittedly, as a kid, I was very much anti-Genesis at first. I was a Nintendo kid, through and through. You could have given me a Mario army and I would have led the charge onto the playgrounds myself. But when I finally got a Genesis, I learned that there's room for all kinds of video game mascots. And when I first played Sonic 2, I never looked back. Since then, the original Sonic the Hedgehog may have been ported to every single device under the sun, but I feel like the appropriate thing is to complete the original on the Genesis. And someone who knows about all those Sonic ports is Turbo Drive Live.
I've actually enjoyed completing Sonic the Hedgehog multiple times over the years, with so many different versions of the game made available in different formats, including the Mega Drive original here, the one on Xbox Live Arcade that gave us achievements, as well as the most recent release on the Nintendo Switch that's part of the Sega Ages line. But with all these ports that Sega have made over the years, I'm surprised that they haven't made a version of the game for this.
From what I've heard about the original Sonic the Hedgehog, it's pretty damn short, much shorter than its follow-ups. While each zone has 3 acts, there are only 6 zones total in the game, so this could be a short ride. Since this is the very first Sonic the Hedgehog, there is no Tails, no Knuckles, no Amy, no Big the Cat, no nothing. Just Sonic versus Eggman, which means there gotta be at least the Chaos Emeralds, right? Even while making sure to nab all of them, I expect to complete this game in one stress-free playthrough. I am a Sonic connoisseur after all, and I'll enjoy this game like a fine wine. Actually, I don't know how to drink wine. I don't even like wine. Wine is kind of gross to me. Even though though it's the very first entry in the franchise, Sonic's charm, the awesome soundtrack, and the illusion of speed at the fingertips are all present and accounted for. That being said, compared to what Sonic is capable of nowadays, Sonic 1 is just okay. When it comes to the premise, it's the same old song and dance we've heard before, but for the first time, Eggman is after the Chaos Emeralds, and he captures all the little cute inhabitants of South Island and shoves them into robots. Sonic has to stop him, and that's it. Aside from a few details from the back of the box in the manual, that's it. And you know what? I love it. It still works. Mario still fights Bowser every time. Sonic can still fight Eggman after all these years. Simplicity is good a lot of the time, and getting right to the gameplay is great even more of the time. Graphically speaking, for the time, Sonic the Hedgehog was the future. Sonic's success was due in large part to its unique graphical presentation and vibrant world. While some of these original zones are some of the weirdest in Sonic's history, I buy them. Spring Yard Zone is great, but there's a lot of weird crap in the backgrounds that seem like you can interact with it, but you actually can't. And while the music in Labyrinth Zone is bumping, it doesn't really match the sunken underground temple vibe. Now don't get me wrong, everything looks great and everything sounds great, but they often seem like they don't belong together. Completing this game felt like I was doing so with the game on mute while I was listening to some other band's music, which kind of makes sense considering that the soundtrack was composed by Masato Nakamura, the lead bass player for a J-pop group called Dreams Come True. Tight, but weird. You know, it's kind of difficult looking at this game in 2018. The narrative is comfortably familiar, the game looks awesome for the time, and the music is definitely kick-ass. But it's clearly an early take on what we all know and love. It's apparent to me now how much Sonic's success came down to pure marketing. Sega made Sonic look and feel cooler than Super Mario Bros., even though Sonic 1 was shorter than all 3 original Mario games. And Super Mario World! That's the craziest part. Sonic the Hedgehog was competing with Super Mario World. The little dude bluffed his way into video game history. Well played. I just want to preface that this game is super hard to talk about when you know what comes after it. After years and years of turning a blind eye to where it all began, I can confidently say without a shadow of a doubt that Sonic 1 is exactly what I thought it would be. Not bad, not good, just fine. And I recognize that this is mostly because of some of the glaring improvements made to the game with its sequels. And all my true complaints I had with this game almost immediately got fixed with Sonic 2. So forgive me as I try to find my footing on where I stand, but I think I'll start with this. The most bizarre thing that I was kind of blown away by was how, in fact, slow I thought Sonic actually was. I didn't even think about it, but the minute I booted up the game, I realized that I have no spin dash at all. In fact, if I wanted to kill enemies with Sonic, I had to either jump on enemies that clearly looked killable, or I had to strategically curl into a ball at the right moment. But that glaring feature of the spin dash being gone went even further when I realized that Sonic 1 is more a puzzle platformer than actual speed platforming. There are several moments throughout the game where you just kind of stop, and you're expected to look at what's going on and figure out what to do. That's not a bad thing, but Sonic's kind of been touted as the speed guy for a very long time. We start Sonic the Hedgehog off with what has become one of the most iconic first levels in video game history, Green Hill Zone. This level is so iconic that it's been remixed to death and included in some variation in some of the more recent games. It's fun to see the original vision of what this game is compared to everything else this stage has become because, well, the original's kind of boring. Maybe it's more the idea that I'm burnt out on Green Hill Zone, but I will say, yeah, these levels do feel way shorter than I would thought they would be. Technically speaking, there's 18 different levels, but what really it comes down to is that there's 6 levels that got cut into thirds. This gives the idea and feeling that this game is way bigger and you feel rewarded for plowing through the game. But to say this game is easy out of the gate would be misleading. After Green Hill Zone, the game's difficulty starts to go up and up. This is the beginning of Sonic's career, which means we gotta go over the basics. Unlike his counterpart Mario, where you need a mushroom or a power-up to sustain hits, all Sonic ever needed was golden rings. These beautiful pieces of gold seemed so much cooler. It always felt good to get 100 rings. Till this day, it still feels really good. But one of the more eye-opening things about Sonic 1 is that it's actually somewhat difficult to get 100 rings safely. Enemies and death traps appear everywhere, and they are not as welcoming as you'd think. This is a problem that got kind of worse as the Sonic games went on, but Sonic Team tried to counterbalance this with more power-ups, lives, and more rings in stages. But for now, Sonic can get a blue shield, which gives him 1 extra hit, and rings which will keep you going as long as you don't get hit. And if you lose the rings, you can just get 1 and be okay. Lives and continues are a must for your successes with Sonic 1, but they're hard to come by. Sometimes you'll find lives in boxes, but for the most part, your lives and continues will come from the big ring bonuses at the end of each stage. Now, these actually become a huge factor in the game because they're not just bonus levels. They're the levels where you get the Chaos Emeralds. If you beat a stage with 50 rings in hand as you hit the Eggman sign, jump into that big golden ring. You will then get transported to the bonus room where Sonic is constantly falling into this weird maze thing. In the middle of each maze is 1 of 6 Chaos Emeralds, and these are actually pretty simple. You'll roll and jump your way to the protected Chaos Emeralds, and then most of the time Sonic just kind of rubs up against the blocks protecting the Chaos Emeralds, and then you get it. Pretty simple, all the while getting lives and continues from collecting rings and raising your score. Following that trend of a short game comes the need to put in obstacles and enemies everywhere, and man, oh man, does that come really through towards the end of Sonic the Hedgehog. Holy moly, there's several sections where there's just so much going on. Even surprises that'll make you tear your hair out, especially when you're trying to reserve 50 rings for those Chaos Emerald bonus rooms. Boss fights are simple and easy, even for people who don't really have that much knowledge of Sonic. Eggman is pretty slow and predictable throughout each fight, and he seems to get even easier, with the final boss of the game being one of the many fights from Sonic Mania. Newcomers may struggle on 1 or 2 of these fights, but with 1 or 7 rings in hand, you'll do just fine. Sonic the Hedgehog did a ton for the gaming space. It gave Nintendo and Mario huge competition, gave life into a 2-year-old console at the time with a robust new face, and built an entire empire for Sega to grow from. And those are all awesome and game-changing things for what they did. But if you told me they did it with Sonic 1 today, I would be pretty confused. I feel so disconnected from this game that I belong on an episode of the Fine Brothers reacting to something about video games for the first time.
Thank you again so much for coming in. We're going to be showing you a commercial for a video game.
Okay.
We'd love for you to be reacting to it.
Sure. So I'm going to react to the video game commercial.
Yes, you will be reacting.
Okay. I'm going to react. I'm not going to play it. I'm going to react to it.
Yes.
Okay. Because I don't know what a video game is, so I'm nervous.
Okay.
Okay. Some pretty good music. I like that music, you know. Whoa, he moves that fast?
Hey guy, you're the first serious gamer I've seen all morning. Check this out, brand new 16-bit.
I don't know about you guys, I would not buy games from that guy. He is creepy.
So based on this commercial, would you be interested in playing this game, Sonic the Hedgehog?
I would play Sonic the Hedgehog, but I don't own the thing you play with it.
Right,
so
well, if you were to buy a Sega Genesis, you would get the game Sonic the Hedgehog packaged in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have enough money to buy a Genesis, so I would not play it, no.
Oh. Well, I mean, a Genesis isn't that much.
Right, but like I'm just a teen gamer, and I don't own a gaming console.
When it comes to completing Sonic the Hedgehog, it's actually pretty simple, but also somewhat disappointing. The only true completion bonus in this game is getting the 6 Chaos Emeralds, and even getting them all gives you the true ending where Eggman is mad and is stomping on a sign. If you don't get all the Chaos Emeralds, you get a screen that says, try again with the remaining Chaos Emeralds you need. While it is fun to get all the Chaos Emeralds, the true ending is pretty tame. No Supersonic? That's no good. Sega was all about their secrets, and Sonic the Hedgehog has a ton of cheat codes in the game if you desire to go that extra mile. Level select, messing with in-game assets, the works. Back in the day, cheat codes were such a fun novelty, I kind of still wish companies did them. Some do, but it's been traded for a more modern approach of achievements and trophies instead. Ah, nostalgia. But not for this game, for Sonic 2. In my playthrough of Sonic the Hedgehog, there were 2 full campaign playthroughs, 18 acts dominated, 6 Chaos Emeralds obtained, 12 deaths, followed up with 3 continues and game overs, 7.5 total hours of playtime, and a handful of times I didn't know if I should dance while playing this game or kind of just let my emotions take over and confuse me. I don't know, it was a smorgasbord of feelings. Sonic the Hedgehog is one of the coolest gaming icons out there, and this is where he started. Despite the ups and downs he would go on to experience, I am glad we can look back and enjoy where Sonic started, where he went, and where he's going. And in this case, I don't think I need to look at Sonic 1 ever again. It's not bad, but from here, everything gets better.
For whatever it's worth, I think Sonic the Hedgehog on the Sega Genesis is important to the history of gaming, to Sega's history, to everyone really. But looking at it objectively, or I guess I can't say objectively because I'm spoiled by the future of Sonic, this game is alright. The music is excellent. The graphics and presentation, pretty freaking solid. Gameplay is okay. You know, no spin dash, no drop dash, no extra power-ups. Everything after Sonic 1 was incredible, and I'm glad that we got a little clay mold here to play with in Sonic the Hedgehog 1. Completing this game, however, is fine, not hard, pretty easy in fact, but there's not really a true payoff of having the 6 Chaos Emeralds other than avoiding a message from Eggman to bothering you to do it again, or do it better rather. So, with that in mind guys, I give this game my completionist rating of finish it.
Finish it!
That's all the time we have today, guys, so please, as always, let me know what you thought about today's episode somewhere on the internet. If you like the show, hit the like button, be sure to subscribe, and click the bell to hit all notifications on. I promise we won't overwhelm you with too much stuff. We do stuff on Wednesdays and Saturdays. We do community posts and polls and teasing throughout the week. I promise to be respectful in your YouTube feed. Please respond in the comments below. We're trying to engage all the time with you guys. You're important to the show as much as I am. So, that's it, guys. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week for the brand new episode. Bye!